Divrei Elokim Gewalt. Really, the Torah should have started with a Chodesh Hazeh Lachem. The Torah should have started with the first mitzvah, with a Chodesh Hazeh Lachem. Ma tam pasach bereishis, and what's the reason that it started with Bereishis? In order to teach us about Eretz Yisrael. Every nation has its own portion. Am Yisrael has Eretz Yisrael. That's the simple interpretation of the words of Rashi. But in the fashion of the tzaddikim who understood it, every word of every Rashi, every word of every pasuk, every Maimer Chazal is filled with multiple meanings, a sort of layered, infinite understanding of what we're trying to express. One can also punctuate and read, really the Torah should have started with HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem, but ma tam pasach bereishis. But isn't it so tasty that Hashem started with Bereishis instead? Ma tam, how much tam, how tasty it is, how delicious, how wonderful it is that Hashem started instead with Bereishis. Because as much as the Torah is called Torah because it's from a lashon of hora'ah, it's from a lashon of laws, the Torah is not just a book of laws. The Torah is a book where Hashem wants to tell us, by the way, I created the world. It's not just some mysterious watchmaker or something that created the world and left it to run on its own, wound up the dial and let it run on its own. But Hashem wants you to know that He's creating the world every single second. And ma tam pasach bereishis, how beautiful it is that Hashem dafka introduces not just the laws of the Torah, but the stories of the Torah as well. To show us that Hashem didn't just create the world, but then there's also Adam Harishon, and Hashem talks to Adam and He tries to build a relationship with him. And it's rocky in the beginning, and then the same with Noach and his generation until finally Avram comes, and there's a little bit of a relationship that gets formed. The entire Sefer of Bereishis, ma tam pasach bereishis. How much tam, how much taste, how much warmth, how much life is pumped into all of our mitzvos, into every narrative of the Chumash and every law, of every word of the Torah, because it begins with Bereishis, and Hashem says, I didn't just create the world and give you a bunch of things to do, but I want to have a deep relationship with you. My desire in creating the world is to have a dira b'tachtonim, mis'avlet tfilasin shel tzadikim. And so, ma tam pasach bereishis. How tasty it is that Hashem began with Bereishis. And that's the whole Indian of Eretz Yisrael. Rashi says, ma tam pasach bereishis. What's, in the simple interpretation, what's the reason that Hashem began with Bereishis? To teach us that Hashem gave Eretz Yisrael to the Jewish people. And that's also the Indian of Eretz Yisrael, the land of the Jewish people. Hashem is called, the Kuzari points out so beautifully, so famously, that Hashem is called Elokei Haaretz, God of the land. That Hashem is miyachid His name on Eretz Yisrael. Eretz Yisrael is the place of Einei Hashem Elokecha ba Bereishis Hashana ad Achris Shana. From the beginning of the year until the end of the year, Hashem's eyes are constantly on Eretz Yisrael. And so, matam pasach bereishis, how tasty it is that Hashem began the Torah with Bereishis. Instead of just giving us a book of laws, Hashem mamish gives us Himself. Ana nafshi ksavis yehavis. When Hashem introduces the first laws of the Aseret Dibros, which is not even really a law, anochi. It's I am Hashem, and I'm giving myself to you. Ana nafshi ksavis yehavis. I'm writing down my soul and I'm giving it to you. How tasty, how delicious it is that Hashem gives us the beginning of the Torah, which is Bereishis, to show us how Hashem wants to have a relationship with the Avos and the Imahos, with Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah. And how Eretz Yisrael is the place where Hashem does that.